Are you thinking of buying a new home over a used one? Watch this and this might change your mind.
I'm Corey Martin with Edge Home Finance in Denver, Colorado.
And I'm Kyle Wong with the Moxie Real Estate team here out of, he said it, Colorado. Welcome back to the Innovator, the Imitator, and the Idiot. Thank you for joining us. As you can tell, we are talking about new build homes versus pre-existing or used homes or lived-in homes or whatever you want to call them. This is an interesting conversation because a lot of people, I think the initial impression is, well, I want to get a new build, but they're super expensive and I don't know if I can afford it, but I also don't want to deal with any problems of like a pre-existing house. So that's my direction. What have you been seeing?
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people look at new builds as an option, particularly as a first-time home buyer. That seems to be like one of the really popular sects for people that are looking into new builds. It's one of those things where, it's just not the same market. As far as when we're looking at the pre-existing homes, there's a lot more people looking at pre-existing homes than there are new builds. And so, some of our, really smart agents, some of the agents that are really tapped into the market are actually are presenting new build options for those first-time home buyers.
Yeah. I just always think it's interesting, the preconceived notions that people have about it of what I just mentioned about, oh, they're new so they're too expensive, or, oh, they're used so there's not going to, we're going to have a lot more issues. What's funny is we're going to address a lot of these. I'm going to tell y'all a couple stories about what I've seen, but let's just go right into it. So new builds. I actually just closed on two. Out in Peyton and in Callahan. And so what I will say is both of these homes were either completed or near completion. So it's not like we started at a dirt lot and we went from there, customized every single part, walked the framing, watch the HVAC go up, all that stuff. So it was very similar to buying a house when it comes to timeline, about 30, 45 days-ish. And what's interesting is that both of these clients that got under contract for these homes actually were looking at pre-existing or lived-in homes. And the difference actually wasn't the price, because that's another big thing that people say. If it's new, it's got to be more expensive. Not necessarily. It's not really like cars, even though the market has shown otherwise recently too.
Yeah.
But a new house is actually pretty on par for what used houses are going for, because that's actually how the builder bases the price. They take the cost of labor and materials into consideration, but usually they price them at market value, right?
Yeah.
So they take what's around, what's sold, what things at similar size and area are going for. And so one of these new builds, they were pretty solid on cost, so we went right at asking, got it under contract, and that was super easy.
Yeah.
One difference with using a new build is that you use a builder contract as opposed to the state regulated contract.
Right.
And so a lot of agents and sometimes builders think that, okay, well, if you're using a real estate agent to buy a new house, then you're just kind of like, okay, there you go, you guys got it, now pay me. There are some things that can be a little bit easier just because the builder is used to dealing with the client throughout the transaction as opposed to you as the real estate agent. But there is a lot of involvement there still. So there are a couple slight differences. You still want to be there through the inspection, and especially if you're actually building the house with the client, customizing things, you really want to be there to make sure things are reflected, numbers are right. The other thing about that is you often think that there are no problems in a new build, but what's really funny is I feel like I've heard of a lot more issues recently, like pretty serious ones too, in newer builds as opposed to used houses, right?
Yeah, I think that there's, with anything, there's an opportunity for people to mess up.
Yes.
Or for mistakes to be made.
Yeah.
I think that while there is a lot, so understanding the market right now, not to get too far off topic, but inventory's low, right?
Yeah,
we have,
totally.
So we don't have as many homes available. We don't have enough homes available to match the buyers out there, right? On pre-existing homes. So new builds are an option, right? That's one of the reasons why first-time home buyers are taking that option. Well, they're becoming more and more popular, and what does that do? that kind of increases the demand for them, or I'm sorry, that forces the builders to sometimes rush jobs.
Yeah.
Not saying that that's happening all across the board, not saying that that's what you can expect with your new build. I'm saying that just because it's a new build doesn't mean that it's perfect. Okay. That's the point, is that there's still an opportunity for someone to make a mistake.
Totally.
Regardless of if it's a new build or a pre-existing home.
And I actually have a funny example about that, because one of my clients, we went through and did an inspection still, and like a full inspection. So, looking at everything, but also added on a sewer scope test as well as a radon test. Radon came out a little higher, but still higher than expected, but under the limits of what's legal. So we didn't do anything there. But the sewer scope on a new build, right? Meaning you go through and the main line that connects from the bottom of the house where everything drains, all your water goes, sewage, stuff like that, goes out to the main line to the city. The drain pipe was not graded or pitched properly, meaning it didn't have enough slope to drain everything on a new build. And these repairs can often go like $10,000, $15,000, $20,000.
Yep.
And so, that happening on a new house, an average buyer, the average consumer wouldn't think, hey, I have to spend $20,000 on my new house.
Yep.
Why? That's crazy.
Yeah.
So the fact that we did that, it's super vital. So if you're a real estate agent, ever ask you, hey, do you want to do an inspection on this? Say yes, always, always, always.
Yep.
Never hurts to know, right?
Yeah.
But also, be aware of these things. So the other thing is that luckily they took care of that, right? No questions asked. And then often when you do get into the new house, they have usually about a year of a builder's home warranty. So they'll take care of, little things, sometimes some bigger things, but there's always conditions. So please read through that. But, suffice it to say, like, new builds are not perfect.
Right.
By any means.
Right. They're not perfect. And, with the key one of the differences with new builds and versus, pre-existing homes is that, let's say, for example, here in our market, we're talking about new builds anywhere in the Denver metro area versus a home that you could find in South Denver. Well, that home has been around for now, 50, 60, 70 years.
Yeah.
So what the history is on that home, right? If there's been any liens on that home, it's granted, there isn't a Carfax for the home.
There should be, though.
There should be, though. Did we just come up with a new idea for our business? Yeah, put that on the Google Doc. We're gonna be rich. But no, so you do have a history on the home, and so you can see what kind of, not necessarily all the inspections or all of the repairs that have been done on the home, but you do have some sort of a broad history of it, and you know what's going on with the foundation. At least there should be some information on the foundation because it's been there.
Right. Yeah, and so that's one thing about the pre-existing homes, like you mentioned, is you usually have a good idea of what's going on, right? So, a lot of between selling the house and having buyers fix or owners fix the house and do repairs and all this stuff, you kind of have invoices and documentation usually. Yeah. You don't always know what you're getting into. Obviously, having a used house, it's like a used car. You don't know for sure if they smoked in it or for sure if they banged it up real good. But you have a pretty good idea. And so that being said, significant problems, I would like to say within like the mechanicals or like the structural part of the house, particularly the foundation or any big things inside the home, those bigger issues usually have come to the surface and either been addressed or they're very well aware of that. By the time you start looking at the house, right? So past like 10, 15, maybe 20 years, you're not going to have too many big issues that are just a surprise. The thing about new builds that's kind of dangerous actually is the fact that it's freshly put up, it's freshly painted. If you go to run a spigot and that pipe that drains the water has never ever been used before, you could find out right then and there if they forgot to like connect a tube or something, which is another thing my inspector said he's seen before. So I'm like, you just want to be careful because at least in a used home, you usually know what you're getting into. Right.
That doesn't count for those, homeowner self-repairs, right? Those DIY projects, right?
I don't need to pay somebody for that.
I know how to build a stairwell, like I can put stairs in a balcony here, so obviously there are certain things that won't cover that we can't, will come up, but like, you know, like on a pre-existing home, you know, that we can't necessarily always look out for, but that's why you get the appraisal. That's why you get the inspection. That's why you know, cross all your T's and dot your I's.
Yeah.
But we did mention, you know, like we said, with the new build, you know, if you do have that issue, there is that warranty there, you know, that can take care of you, at least if it's in that first year. Still doesn't like make it any easier or make it any more fun, you know, when you've got, you know, when you go to, you know, take a shower and, you know, dust comes out of the shower head, or, you know, or plastic is still in there or something like that. But, you know, you do have that option with the warranty. Now, one thing that I did want to talk about was the financing options for new builds.
Yeah. See, that's a good question I have, actually.
So a lot of people assume, again, that new builds are more expensive because you have to build the home itself, right? And to that, I would say, you know, it wouldn't sell, right? You know, think about it in the sense of, you know, if you have an option of buying a new home versus a pre-existing home, and the new home is priced at, you know, $100,000 more just because it's new, well, then you're probably not going to go to the new home, right? You know, so, you know, builders do have to make sure that the homes are priced competitively. That said, there's many options when you're looking to build a new property, right? So first off, you know, you could go out and look at a new development where there's a builder that's already there and they may have some of their own financing options there. You could do a bridge loan, which is just literally like, you know, you get the loan to start building on the property or to build the property, and then you once the property has been built, you take out a completely separate mortgage, a completely separate loan, that, you know, you're gonna, for, you know, a new 30-year fixed mortgage or whatever the case may be.
And then bridge loans help if you're currently selling a house too, as well, right?
Exactly. Let's say you're leaving your pre-existing home, right? And you want to build a home. A bridge loan would be a good option for you. Okay. That's also an option for you if you're not looking to build in a new development. Let's say, you know, we've seen a ton of this in South Denver, right? Where, you know, maybe you buy a, you know, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, and then you knock it down and you build a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, or whatever you're looking for there. That's certainly an option, and we've seen that too. So bridge loans can help with that. We also have options as far as one-time close. Right, and this is one that I'm really excited about because of all of the steps that go into bridge loans, and then a new loan. A one-time close option will allow you to, just exactly as it sounds, you close once, you have one loan for building the property, and then that same loan is the loan that you're going to use once you move into the property. The key with a one-time close loan is for the most part, you're going to be paying on the interest. You're still going to pay while you're not living in it, but it's interest-only payments versus paying on the principal and all of those things, right? So, you know, multiple options there as far as, you know, how you're going to pay for building the home. The most important part that you guys need to remember is that it's not necessarily going to be more expensive than the pre-existing home. As a matter of fact, many builders have, you know, a lot of incentives to purchase with them or to use their lenders. And I know that me, myself, as a lender, we have a lot of options that, you know, are every bit as cost effective as a pre-existing home.
Yeah. So be sure to shop around. Absolutely. That's what's good about working with you, is you being able to shop around for the clients, finding the best loan option for them, whether that be a new build or a pre-existing home. And then one other thing I wanted to talk to you about was just the options for timing, because when you get into a new build specifically, on a pre-existing house, you know, it's pretty standard, right? 30-day close, you kind of set the timeline, agree upon that with the buyer and the seller. But when you're working with a builder, or at least somebody representing a new build, as you probably know, often there isn't necessarily a strict timeline. When you use those builder not builder grade, but those builder specific contracts to purchase a house, you're kind of at their will. They write that very much so in the favor of the builder, obviously. And so you as the buyer really want to hire a real estate agent to go through and review that with you, help you understand what the consequences may be if things were to go sideways or whatever, but just to understand it. And so when it comes to timeline, like what are some loan options that you would recommend to make sure, hey, I as the buyer, or me working with the buyer, are not going to sign a contract, say we're going to close at this time. Oh, great, I'm going to sell my house. We're going to get into this one on this exact date. But then the builder pushes out, and then they push out, and they push out, and boom, interest rates shoot up, and now my buyers can no longer afford it, which has happened before. Right? So you want to be very careful with that. And then now the buyer is just kind of out
homeless.
Of luck. Yeah, and they don't have a house.
Yeah.
So what are some options for that then?
No, Kyle, this is a great question. And I think the best answer to that would be the one-time close option. Because when you have a one-time close, so written into this financing is that first, if you are looking to build this home, then it's not going to take more than a year. Okay.
Yeah.
That's part of the approval that the builder gets to build the home, right? So, look, we're not going to take more than a year. In some options or some cases, they're 18-month options, but now you have a strict timeline, right?
Yeah.
As a builder, they don't want to take more than that. That means that they're kind of spending a lot more money than they wanted to. And obviously, as a homeowner, you don't want to take too much longer than that, right?
Right.
But then also, speaking to a situation that we're in right now, right? So interest rates have gone up over the last month or so. And if you looked to, let's say you look to build a home in, May of 2022. Right? Mm-hmm. Interest rates are higher now in May of 2022 or higher in May of 2023 than they are in May of 2022.
Yeah.
So if you had a bridge loan in that scenario, then hopefully you can make more money. Hopefully you've got some more, more income. Otherwise you may not qualify. But with the one-time close loan, you only qualify once. And so when it comes to even when the home is built, it's just that the loan transfers to a 30-year conventional, with you're paying principal and interest versus having to re-qualify for that loan with a new interest rate, with a new credit score, with hopefully the same income, but maybe not the same income. You just don't know.
Right. Essentially, it's like locking in that rate, locking in the loan, if you will.
Exactly.
And that's what's super important is because I never want to put my buyers in a situation where they're like, hey, let's just say it's an active market, which it is again. It's a hot market. Like, we don't really want to compete. Let's just go ahead and write an offer for a new build. Mm-hmm. Let's get locked in. We're cool with it taking 8 months. It just can't really take too much longer than that.
Right.
A, I want them to make sure that they're getting into a home that they like, but B, I want to make sure they can get into the home. Can they afford it? Does the timeline work? And so that's why it's super important, I think, on the financing side, especially to communicate with the with the builder and make sure like, hey, we want to make sure that things close about the same time we agreed upon and about the same terms. And so that's why I think that conversation with you is super important.
Yeah, I think the one-time close option is really, and there's multiple products out there, right? Like, I think it's becoming more popular. Companies have to have this option out there because people are just kind of like, hold on, man, this is very risky, especially in this market where interest rates are volatile. The economy is kind of, evolving and changing, right? I don't know, I know I'm going to have this job in a year, but like, I don't know if my income's going to go up a full percentage point to cover, to cover this interest rate change.
Yeah, especially with all the tech job layoffs, like people that are making multiple 6 figures and then just like that, they're done.
Exactly.
It's a little scary. So we want to make sure like we can provide that security where we can.
Yeah. The one-time close option is great. And I mean, there's there's other options for you as far as financing goes. This one kind of, makes your life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
There's other options as far as, construction goes or new builds go, or I guess construction goes, not to go too far off topic, but there are certainly, options where you can purchase a pre-existing home and use an FHA 203 loan and improve and use the funds that you get to improve the property. to make to make improvements on the property. There's certainly the fix and flip loans, those options that are out there, but
they're usually a little bit more expensive though, right?
Yeah, a little bit more expensive. What the idea is that companies just want to know that, look, if you're going to fix it, then when we flip it, it's going to be worth a little bit more than what you're buying it for.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's the key to those. But so let's say you're a person who is kind of in both worlds, right? You like the pre-existing home, but you want some of the customization that a new build gives you. Well, that's where some of the we do have loan options for you on those, and you can certainly, like I said, use the FHA 203 loan to run that route.
That's perfect for my mom. All she wants to do is no matter how new or nice a house is, she's like, I just want to. Yeah, garden, bathroom, kitchen, all the little stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Stuff.
That's
okay.
It's the all of those things matter. It gives your home a little bit more personality. It allows you to imprint your personality on it, and it's an option for you to make those changes and improvements on the property on the front end versus in other scenarios, you move into the home, you got to live with this ugly paint, and then you wait until you get some equity in the property to make those improvements. This loan option allows you to do that on the front end. So you can do the new build option, you can absolutely do the pre-existing option, you can do kind of both, a combination of both as well.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, there are a lot of options. I don't even fully understand all the loan options, I don't think. So that's why I have you.
Yeah, that's why I'm here for you guys. So, the key is to just is to state your needs, understand what it is that you want, what you're looking for, and then work with someone as intelligent as Kyle and as good looking as Corey, to make sure that, we can meet those needs for you and come up with a plan to get you to the finish line.
Yeah. And while we're working on a Carfax for homes, we'll work on names. If you guys are looking at getting into a new build or a pre-existing home, or just have any questions about any of the topics we discussed today, be sure to schedule a call with us down below. Believe it or not, that actually is us on the call. You will be talking to us directly. We'd love to chat with you. So any final thoughts?
You got options?
You got
options. Talk to smart people about how to execute on those options. New builds and pre-existing homes are both great ways to go. Both are going to make you happy in the end.
Yeah. Well, this has been the Innovator,
the Imitator,
and the Idiot. Thanks, guys. I'm Kyle Wong with the Moxie Colorado team here out of Colorado.
I'm Corey Martin with Edge Home Finance here in Denver, Colorado. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to click that link below. Thanks.
Thank you.